It is completely irresponsible. It compromises national security, it compromises global security, and it creates all this chaos.
This is infecting the readiness of three of our four main branches of government.
This is legislative terrorism, okay? This guy, Tuberville, one senator, is endangering the national security of our country and our allies for ideological reasons. He is putting people in positions where they can die.
Dale Jackson here for Yellowhammer Now. We've got to talk about this Tommy Tuberville thing yet again. And I find this to be absolutely hilarious as these people are screaming on television that Tommy Tuberville is affecting military readiness. Let me explain something to you right now. If he was, I believe Joe Biden would stop what he is doing and stop breaking the law. But nobody seems to want to ask Joe Biden why he doesn't back down. If Tommy Tuberville is being so unreasonable and affecting military readiness, isn't it up to the President of the United States to say, you know what? Maybe a brand new policy after 30 plus years of American policy on this issue of abortion not being paid for by the taxpayers, maybe that was the right policy for now until we can change the law. Maybe we don't put military readiness at stake. That would lead you to believe that military readiness is not at stake. And I hate to break this to a lot of people, but Joe Biden's a liar. I know this is going to be hard for a lot of you to understand, but Joe Biden is a no-good liar. And it's just a fact. We can debate it, and we can talk about niceties and all the other things that we like to do in this country where we say, well, maybe that's not the right thing to say. No. Listen to the people at the beginning of this clip, and you would have heard them talk about Tommy Tuberville in the most vile way possible. And the activists are almost as stupid. Look at this lady. Senator Tuberville is finally getting the news recognition he deserves for blocking over 301 military promotions for his extreme political agenda. Here's a detailed summary of every position Tommy Tuberville and the Senate GOP are blocking. Wow, that's scary. So no one's doing those jobs, just empty offices, mails collecting outside the door, and people will die. You know, the typical normal argument that Democrats seem to make about basically everything, which is why it has zero credibility. But that's not it. They're not done. There's a lot more here. Tommy Tuberville was interviewed on Newsmax talking to Greg Kelly, and I'll tell you, I think Tommy Tuberville is showing himself to be really smart and really strong on how he's handling this. Let's look at that interview with Tommy Tuberville and the folks there on Newsmax.
Well, the pressure is mounting. You know, you hear what they said every day. Oh, the service secretaries have come out. I hope you're not wavering, because this is not affecting readiness. That's they're lying, quite frankly, or they're ignorant. How do you feel about the campaign? And tell us a little bit about it.
Well, first of all, they don't know what pressure is. Try coaching in the SEC. But, you know, the thing that gets me is you got all these pundits on television. I don't watch them, but I just saw a few of them as we're starting this hit. They don't know what they're talking about. I've talked to generals and admirals every day. There's no problem with readiness. There's none of these jobs that are unfilled. This is my prerogative to be able to put a hold on anything. Now, I'm not holding up nominations. Chuck Schumer can bring them to the floor one at a time as quick and as fast as he wants to, but he won't do it. Because
it's an interesting point that he points out, and we'll let him continue his point here in just a second. Chuck Schumer could do this. And they complain, well, he shouldn't have to. Well, if it's that important, I mean, at least the Marine Corps Commandant, right? At least go get that one, right? That's the most important one we're talking about. Well, at least go get that one. No? You still don't want to do that? That's not something you want to do? Interesting. Seems weird. Maybe he doesn't actually believe the stuff he's saying. Odd.
Because that's an admittance of being wrong. And so I'm not changing my mind. I mean, I'm doing this for the right reasons. I'm tired of Pinocchio Joe legislating from the White House. They're not going to do that on my watch. The people of Alabama have somebody up here that's going to vote for them. And if we're going to have some kind of different abortion policy in the military, it's going to take a vote on the Senate floor. And if we don't do that, I'm going to have these holes for a long, long time.
You know, it's interesting. Isn't it nice that Tuberville's saying, hey, look, here's what's happening. Here's what's going on. And he's laying out the policy completely, saying This is illegal what they're doing. And if they want to change it, have the votes. Make it happen. Do what you need to do. Yet he's the bad guy in this situation. Why? Because they have like this abortion fetish in the American media. And now you got the military members playing along, and that's really sad.
And let's put up the Pentagon policy or the new practice. Okay, we all know Roe v. Wade went away, the court, and well, this is kind of like their workaround. The Pentagon granting administrative absence to sailors, soldiers, Marines for an abortion, travel allowance, transportation allowance. This is, I mean, in a way, you could argue that this is encouraging service members to have an abortion. How would you characterize what they're granting here?
Well, exactly. Greg, we had a briefing for my behalf, by the way, from the Armed Services Committee about 2 or 3 months ago. And they brought all of these experts in, basically telling us why they needed to do this. It was for readiness and it was for recruiting, which was a crock of crap, to be honest with you. I asked them if there was anybody complained about it since for the last 35 years. They said no. I said, well, that's funny. Why would you change something nobody's complaining about? But they did it anyway, and they're trying to hide when they can do an abortion now. It used to be for the 3 exceptions on the old policy. Now it's abortion at any time. That's not what the people of this country expect. And so 60% of the people of this country, Greg, say that we should not spend one dime of taxpayer money towards abortion. And so that's the Democrats and Republicans. So I'm fighting for both sides here. Again, if I was affecting the military of the United States of America, which I respect and which I love and which I believe in, I wouldn't be doing this. But it is not affecting it. It's a bunch of pundits out there thinking that they know what's going on, and they don't. And so there's no way they're going to talk me out of this. We're going to have holes for a long, long time, and they can just get used to it.
Love it. Love everything I'm hearing here. It is absolutely fantastic to hear him talking like this and making it clear that he is not going to collapse on this. I am a big fan of what Tommy Tuberville is doing here, and I think it's awesome. What's not awesome, and what is disgusting, is this nonsense. This individual right here is on CNN discussing the, I guess, editorial in the Washington Post where the Navy and the Army and the Air Force, their secretaries all come out and say, oh, this is just terrible, it's affecting readiness. Yet they don't say anything about Joe Biden. It's weird. It's almost like they work for Joe Biden and they're going to basically pump his message no matter what. And that's fine if that's what they want to do, and that's who they are as leaders. But I want you to hear what this guy says about Tommy Tuberville, and you ask yourself, is this an honest, decent, good human being? Or is this a guy saying crap he knows isn't true because he's told to go out there and say it?
Forgive me, for someone who's born in a communist country, I would have never imagined that actually one of our own senators would actually be aiding and abetting communist and other autocratic regimes around the world. This is having a real negative impact and will continue to have a real negative impact on our combat readiness. And that's what the American people truly need to understand.
Now, Jake Tapper is sitting there like a potted plant. Okay, if this was a situation where a Republican came out and said this, Jake Tapper would cry. Sir, how can you say that? Sir, how can you say such things? How could you say that about a fellow American? That you're aiding and abetting communists? Is there any evidence that that's happening? No. Is there any truth to that statement? No. But Jake Tapper sits there quietly and says nothing because he's a coward. That's what he is. He should have said to that guy, the Secretary of the Navy, come on. He's aiding and abetting communists. But he won't say it because he's a coward. And it's really unfortunate to see this kind of stuff taking place. But this is exactly where we are. This is exactly where we are in this country right now. And it's amazing to see. Because these guys all know better, but they are just so fascinated with abortion, they don't know how to handle themselves. Listen to the things they say about this. Oh, infant mortality in Alabama is because we don't have access to abortion? So if there were more dead babies, there would be more alive mothers? No, that's not how it's working. The women who die during childbirth are not dying because they wanted to have an abortion and couldn't get it, which is why we've experienced this issue for a long time. They're dying because they're not getting the proper prenatal care, and they're not getting the proper care they need during their pregnancy. That's what's happening. It's not because they wanted to kill their babies. And that thing that is said is so vile and terrible and so without fact that people should call that out. But they don't. And I say this as the pro-choice Alabama talk show host. Find another talk show host in Alabama that will tell you he's pro-choice. Safe, legal, rare. Yeah, I know, I'm quoting Hillary Clinton here. But just because I agree with something doesn't mean I don't believe the people of Alabama have a right to have a say in a senator that represents their beliefs. Just because I disagree with Tommy Tuberville on the issue of abortion, it doesn't mean that I don't think he's right to say the White House should have to actually pass the policy instead of just snapping his fingers and saying, hey, we're going to do this. The reason why this is an issue, the reason why this will remain an issue for Tuberville and for me, is because the next president can then come in and do whatever they want. That's not how our system is supposed to be set up. That's not how our system is set up. And Tuberville's taking a righteous stand here. Now, some people are too stupid to understand that. I don't blame them for that. But I shouldn't have to listen to them on television say ignorant things. And the anchor should challenge these people. But guys like Jake Tapper, they're too cowardly to do so. And they don't even have a person on representing the other side. I could easily destroy every single one of these people, including Jake Tapper, on this issue. But you'll never see people like me there. One is because I'm so hideously ugly. That's part of the problem. Two is they don't know how to handle anyone who disagrees with them. It is a groupthink problem at CNN, MSNBC, and in the mainstream media. That's just a reality. Now, you may say, well, Dale, you're a part of the media. That's true. I'm the good part. I'm the right part. And that's fine. There's a reason why I'm Alabama's most trusted journalist, because I'll tell you the truth about absolutely everything. And yeah, a lot of what I say is opinion. But luckily for you, my opinion is correct, especially on this. Tommy Tuberville is right. He should stick by his guns, and I think he's going to. So good luck making this argument. Tommy Tuberville won't allow people to have abortions, so we're going to lose the war in Ukraine. And yeah, I know, these are the people that think we're fighting a war in Ukraine, as opposed to just funding a war in Ukraine and feeding Ukrainian people into the meat grinder of Russia, hoping we can hang on to a few more meters so we don't have to fight Russia here. I mean, did all this sound familiar? Of course it does. Of course it does. There's no strategy in that policy either. But don't let these people tell you that it's because of abortion that America's military is suffering. America's military is suffering because we have had decades of piss poor leadership. Losers like the guy who went on television and said Tommy Tuberville's aiding the communists. People that are more interested in the woke agenda than they are in winning wars. That's why we're in trouble. We can't recruit. We're having to activate the individual ready reserve, people who are out, who have done their time, but still had some of that IRR time available. So they're calling them back and reactivating them. That's why the military is having issues right now. It's the wokeness, it's the stupidity, and it's stuff like this you're seeing on television. The vaccine didn't help either. But did they backtrack on that? Did they put those people back in, those soldiers who served honorably? No. But let me guess, that's Tommy Tuberville's fault too, for throwing those soldiers on the bus and having a bunch of people say, well, I don't trust the military. They're going to make me get a vaccine. Sorry. That's part of your recruiting problem. When they fix that, then maybe we'll be having some different conversations. But right now, it's just about Tommy Tuberville and the issue of abortion, and that completely misses the point, and they know it. They're looking for a scapegoat, and they're playing politics. They'll blame Tuberville for doing the same thing, but they're lying.